I'm assuming this recording is actually working, so to start off, this is a test platform I built so that I can use it in designer mode to learn how to do it. So first off, there's the control. It shows you middle mouse click to go to cursor, which you can use to turn the screen. I don't recommend. And you can just toggle things like info and these. This is a useful one because it shows you the energy bar and the resource bar of your ship compared to its maximum, even if you don't have the ship selected like I do here. Also, this is commodities. This bar shows commodities. Basically, commodities is a special form of resource, the thing you use to build, the green thing, that can be universally given to any vehicle. So if I press F5 to give, there's infinite commodities in the designer mode. That means I'm taking from the universal store from all of my vehicles of commodities. To get commodities, you have to have a vehicle that holds over 1 million resources, and open build mode with B, and you can either use the default, which uses W, A, S, and D, based off of where your camera is facing, to move. So if I say face straight down, S and A, not S and A, S and W move me up and down, and D and A go along the x-axis of where I'm facing. You can also use Alt and space to move it, if you want to move it in all axes from one camera angle. Left click is place and move towards where you're facing. Right click is place and move back towards where you're currently facing. In the keyboard-based one, they're both remove if you are currently hovering over a block, which you can see by the red outline, in the red remove, for example, metal beam 4, which is the block I have placed currently. Pressing R with default controls copies the currently hovered block, which you can then place. Pretty sure. Backspace, yes. Backspace, if you're in building mode, lets you remove connection rules temporarily. If a ship gets damaged, then connection rules get reapplied. But you can also use this in normal campaigns, I believe. But this is helpful if you want to build something while still retaining space relative to the main craft, if you're building far. But backspace to remove, connection rules, and that disappears because it was disconnected from the main craft. But once those are the basics of this. You can also press middle mouse click and scroll this for more in-depth controls. The only ones that I think you might need are F and N. So F is on the opposite axis of where you're facing. It fills. So if I were to say, god dang it, I'm currently not used to the keyboard control scheme, so that's why I'm doing so poorly with it. But if I were to say press F here, it'd fill all empty spots on that plane. Control Z, control... It's just control Z, I guess? There's no redo, I guess. But control Z is redo. I'm actually going to check if there's redo because I forget. Redo. Control Y. So if I were to say, press control Y. Yeah, there we go. Control P is prefab mode. That lets you, if you're in normal prefab mode, make this cube whatever size you want, hover it over some blocks, left click, you've selected it, now you can place it however much you want. That's prefab. You can also save the captured prefab or load a saved prefab. I believe I have a good prefab that I can just quickly load in. Alright, so this. That is a quick prefab that I made for this plasma weapon. Plasma weapons, not the best. You can learn about those yourself. They're not that complicated. It is generator into chamber, oops, keyboard, into collector, into connector, connector goes to mantlet, mantlet goes to the accelerator, and accelerator can have heat sinks, and that's all you need to know about plasma guns for a basic view. And time to undo all that. But yeah, that's prefab mode. O is sub-object, loader, and saver. So if you press E to open inventory and go to sub-objects, you can place turrets. This is a 5-meter turret base. So now I can place whatever I want. For example, I'll make a very basic cram. Let me get 2-meter shells. And then get a 2-meter clip. And then 2 cooling units. Pop on a firing piece. Is that the wrong way around? Yes, it doesn't look good. Alright, so if a piece is the wrong way around, you can hold tab, and if you see the red, the green, the blue, it's always the same, unless, of course, you turn your camera sideways, and then it changes green and blue. But let's just, for simplicity, call CUNY, they're the y-axis, AD is X, and WS is Z-axis, because that's how it'd look on a graph. But if I press D or A twice, that turns it 180 degrees. Now, if I hold Shift and do one of the clicks, that replaces blocks. So I can say, place that, Shift, right click or left click. But that, if I were to put on a ammo input feeder, and then grab a mantlet, and then put on a barrel, and if I'm say just like that, assign to alt intakes. Now that is a working advanced cannon. Not that hard. It gets a little bit harder if you were to use a belt-fed autoloader, but if it's an advanced cannon, it will also need cooling, which you just place cooling vents for. You can also place a recoil absorber to absorb recoil. You can't see me hover over it because I can't move my mouse for it, but on the stats, you'll see recoil. On the left, it shows 440, 110 a second. That's how much recoil it produces a second. And the absorption I have is 2,675, 429 a second. Basically, you just want the second numbers to match up or have the absorption be higher. Then its recoil doesn't affect your craft. Railguns, they're just slightly more complicated, but I don't need to get into that. But that's a basic APS. So, what if you built a very good gun and you want to be able to place it on other crafts? Well, Control O, just hold Control, press O, then you're opened the sub-object and loader and saver, which I brought up earlier. You can just hover over a sub-object you want to save, left click, name it, put it in the file you want, and save it. I will be, however, so what did I press? Left control. Okay, left control is drive your vehicle. I will just be saying that for simplicity's sake, because I misclicked it just then. I will be real quick pulling out a sub-object I've made. As you can see, it's a bit big, and the game doesn't like a blueprint this large. Don't mind it, it's a bit whiny. It's also a bit heavy. But we don't care about that. I'm going to now try and remove the prefab. There we go. double tap, then hold on the second tap the move direction, you move your camera faster if you're placing it. But if I leave build mode real fast, press right mouse to control my guns. This gun is quite simple, really. You shoot it. Oh, wait. Not enough energy. God dang it. I forgot. This thing's a bit needy. Let me just... this is the E menu, if you're not in the build menu. You can do things. I want to. Okay. So basically, plasma cannons, they work based off of charges. Once the charges equals the amount you need to fire, you can. But I can't fire currently because... why? Ah, that's why. Okay, I'm just going to lower it to an amount of charges that I can fire with. But, bam, or not. Why is it not firing? Also, don't mind my fortress sinking because it's being a bit fussy. I'm just going to fix that real fast. Yeah. Taking damage, whatever. Why won't you shoot? What's the issue? You have enough energy. You have enough charges. What the hell? Let's go down to that. Alright, so basically, yeah, it shoots, uses the charges. Basically, when it's at maximum power, what it does, I built it to the point where it does this, the barrel temperature, because with plasma guns you have to worry about charges and barrel temperature, which is the accelerators. It says accelerator temperature right there. Basically, if you fire this thing, the accelerator temperature gets to 9 times the heat of the sun, which is why I have it saved, because it's pretty cool. I just Control Z'd it, so my frame rate started being a slideshow. Well, that was basic stuff. I mean, water. I'll explain it real quick. You need a propeller that propels the boat. To power the propeller, you need a fuel engine or a steam engine. These are both prefabs. Both are pretty simple to make if you know what you're doing. I'd recommend just learning how to build steam engines and using those because they're quite compact. As in, this is nearly a small engine. Small steam engine. The input is the back? Yes. The input's the back. And I need to put a crank here. And a gearbox here, right? Yep. And then I just need to take a steam pipe. Pop it here. And this... One second. Might be this. Yeah. No? Maybe I need a small crane. No, I need a small shaft. I think. What am I doing wrong? What? Okay, I'm not going to question it, but that's a small steam engine. That's not even an optimized steam engine, and you'd also not want something this small because the engine power it puts out is, if you see in the bottom right, negligible. That's not even a steam engine you'd want. But they're quite simple to make. It's just a simple gearbox, shaft, crank, piston pushing the crank, piston powered by steam, and each kind of boiler requires a different steam controller. different steam boiler. That's steam engines. Fuel engines, I don't understand personally. Cram cannons. Let's just do quick. Alright, I'll explain it now. So basically, yeah, I'm looking at this correctly. Every single part attaches in a different specific way. If it's a pointy attachment point like you see on the left-hand side of this block, that means it's not where you need to attach this thing to. That's where other things attach. So, for example, the pellets will attach to that on one of those three sides because they're the pointy ones, instead of the, what I'd just call the back of the arrow instead of the front, which is where it would attach to a, I'm just gonna, yeah, 6-way connector. Just make it look good. Would then attach to a 6-way connector, which would then bring up to your firing piece, which is on the ground, which you would then attach to barrels. This is a fully functioning, very slow cram cannon. Very simple. Slightly more simple than advanced cannon. It has good potential, but I'd just say advanced cannons are a much better option. There's missiles, which I haven't really worked on much myself. Laser, I haven't worked on. Particle cannons, I will explain because they're quite simple. I'll do a basic terminated setup, but very simple. Make your tube. Place them. Then you just place your blends on the end of the tube. One end has blends. You have your tubes. It ends with the terminator. So, first thing about particle cannons, it is charge time. That determines how long you have to wait between the shots. There's the damage type. I'd recommend just using impact at this point, because you'll understand the value of the other things, like piercing for armor values. It does less damage, but pierces more armor. EMP, that's to kill AI, which all enemy ships have, so you need to care about that if you're actually using it as a weapon. And explosive, not high armor pen, it just explodes on the first surface. But focus decides how much spread you have, but it also lowers your damage and increases the energy cost. Overclocking increases damage, reduced energy efficiency. Just leave it at 1 if you don't feel like dealing with increased energy costs. Then you can amp up the charge time if you wish for more damage, more energy cost. But it does become more efficient for energy used at higher charge times. Then you select your gun. It has a limited angle fire. Can't aim there. Can aim there. It's just a simple shot. Wait 10 seconds. That's particle cannon. There is one downside to particle cannons, which is if you move the center, it can't fire anymore. Except for the thing is, I'm pretty sure it can still try to fire. But no, it can't still try to fire? I don't know. Yeah, let's just wait for the charge time. I'm gonna see, because I'm pretty sure it can try to fire, and that will damage the... Yes. Alright. So that damages the vehicle if it's a big enough beam, but my vehicle's invincible, so it didn't do anything. That's particle cannons. Plasma cannons, I explained. Flamethrowers, quite simple. You start with a compressor, any kind, and then you need at least one fuel tank with a compressor. Oop, I think I have the compressor the wrong way around. Why is it? You know what? I'm just gonna... Then you place your connector. Then you place your flamethrower. I'm using bottom connection just because it's simple. Alright. Compressors. Funky side goes down. Other side attaches to a flamer. As you can see by the arrow, I wasn't paying attention to that. Just like you can see on the tank. Then these have straight lines because you can attach them in any way. This, it's just, it already says that's where the entry point is. That, simple flamethrower. Flamethrowers themselves are base turreted, and they shoot fire. Pretty simple. Not the best against metal or heavy armor, but it works just fine against wood. There's simple weapons. Don't use these, except for the case-made guns. Only use these if you have space to spare, but don't really feel like making something small in a short time. Next part to explain, I'd say, is AI. Just use all-in-one weapons, local weapon controllers. If you place this, that weapon that is attached to, so you can also say, just leave that there. So I say, I'm just stupid, I can't copy that. Attach this to the turret. Since I placed the turret, it automatically put me in a mode where I'm building on the turret. The brackets, not the ones above the 9 and 0 on your keyboard, you can use to select a different vehicle. Well, different part of the vehicle. Right bracket puts you to the next turret, which put me here. Left bracket instantly returns you to the vehicle. But right bracket also puts you onto the turret you're looking at, I believe, if you have more than one. And you're not currently selected on the turret. But, move back to this. Since I placed this attached to the turret base, or to, I could say, build a simple weapon. Wait, let's just do this. If I was stupid, I'd put this on a turret. Already, the turret's front's that way, the gun's front's that way. I'm being quite stupid here. If I put the AI on top, well, the weapon's controlled by the AI. Turret's not. That's why you want to place that there. But if I say, move that up, I'm just going to turn it there so that you can actually see it work properly, because I don't know if the AI will mess up. But if I then place that there, since the AI is connected to the turret, it also works for the gun. This is one of, at least as far as I know, the only simple weapons, because it's the only one I've used. It's a simple weapon that uses specific shells. You can make your own. You can also use the one on the weapon base. I don't particularly care what you do, unless I'm in a campaign, then I will judge you for what kinds of shells you use. But if I say spawn an enemy with, so this is the C menu, it's AI control, God mode, firing, disable movement, manual control, formation free, and teleport to the vehicle, activate that attacking salvage, which is enemies not controlled by AI, which you normally want to pick up, because then you get more resources, and also build on, which goes from the origin point. But yeah, that's what you control in the C menu. The X menu is the spawner menu for the designer. So I can spawn rat. It's one of the smallest things. It's a very small boat. Let me pulse time if it's not dead. If I'm off, it's fine. It'll do nothing. Disable movement. Let me just repair it fully, because I don't think the shell hit yet. Mine just missed. But this is the rat. It's a very small boat. Good for testing. Also, there is another reason to why this isn't firing, and it's twitching around. Well, it's not firing consistently. It is because my ship doesn't have an AI for it to connect to detection systems, to connect to the weapon, to tell it where the enemy is. So, if I were to go into AI, I'd recommend, if you don't know how to build an AI, it's actually quite simple, but I don't really need to explain it. It's as simple as connector. If you need more space, you need to put a transmitter so that it actually communicates with the rest of the vehicle. And then you just need general processing cards to actually process specific things. Like, you need more general processing power the more detection you have. And then there's also other things like behavior expansions, plug and play cards. I don't know what that is. This thing, you pop on an AI, the game treats that enemy and the vehicle and the AI controlling it as if it's an enemy. For simplicity's sake, you can just use this as the root block if you want to make a small detection. But then you can use cameras, which are the main thing I use. I also have a radar on my vehicle normally, which you can attach to the camera like this. And this camera currently has its right side blocked because it's not in a place where it works. So it can detect the rat though, which is why the rat is... That's why the rat's actually getting shot now instead of being killed. But if you leave your AI to control a weapon, and you have proper detection. I don't have that good detection, and the rat is small. Ship size does affect detection, but if you're manually controlling a weapon, it is near perfectly accurate. Depends on your settings and depends on distance and the weapon. You should always, in the core menu of a weapon, set it to require accuracy before firing, 0.1 degrees, that's the minimum. But as you saw there, basic AI, basic detection, it could technically, if the rat wasn't so hard to detect, just kill it very fast. But in build mode, resources, you need storage. This isn't the only storage containers, there's also smaller ones, there's larger ones, there's weird ones, like coal. These all are normal resource storages. These all do the same thing. If you build an amount that takes up the same amount of spaces, so if I say place 2 of these barrels, it'd store the amount that the coal piles do. And this barrel is just the same amount as this wooden one. Now let me remove those. Fuel storage, stores fuel, flamethrowers, fuel engines, custom jet engines, all use those. Ammo parts. Guns use these things. That is how much ammo your guns can access at any given time. So if a weapon says it consumes 50 a second, I just need... I forget how many each of these gives, but I just need however many gives 50 a second. Oh, one of these. But yeah, that's ammo, fuel, normal materials, electricity. To have electricity storage on your vehicle, you first need to place batteries. You can use RTGs, specific fuel engines, and specific steam engines. RTGs are expensive to place and don't generate much energy. 30 energy a second for this. A steam engine that takes up, let's say, that much space. A steam engine that takes up that much space, which it realistically doesn't, would be much more energy efficient. Actually, no, I think it's possible to build one that takes up that much space, but nonetheless, more efficient. Electric engines, if you have it attached to a bunch of batteries, it draws energy from only the batteries it's attached to, which it then generates power for. It does not generate much power, it generates just engine power. I only recommend that for smaller fortresses, which is this type of vehicle that just floats using these thrusters, which you will find in... I think you will find it in Misk? Yes. No? I don't know where I found it before. But yeah, there's also defense things, munition warners. These detect weapons, Sea-Wiz, Swiss, whatever, however you want to pronounce that. This is needed for guns that you want to shoot down enemy projectiles like cram cannon shells. Laser warners. They will pick up laser damage to vehicles and dispense smoke, which reduces laser damage. Decoys. You know, cool things. Ring shield. It's a very interesting thing. If you place it like this, I'm pretty sure on that way and that way, the vehicle has more armor on all of its blocks. And you can also use this thing like a gun. If you really are a very interesting person, you can use these as weapons. I don't recommend it. For example, you can see this. This is made for shooting down things. Don't know what it's made for shooting down. To me, it doesn't look the best. It is at least an advanced cannon. You should almost never be making cram cannon anti-munitions. But art stones. These are required in campaigns and adventure, I believe adventure mode. Basically, depending on how big the vehicle is, it might need extensions, which are these blocks. I think that's enough extensions, yeah. But basically, this is what keeps your character alive. You need it placed on a vehicle. As you can see down here, at least in designer mode, your character's not automatically spawned in. Shift G, if I'm not in build mode, spawns my character. Tab changes my camera. You're a funny little dude. Change my camera back to this. And if you press Z, you can assign your weapons, utilities, tools, change your fleet colors, flags, author tags, whatever, and your avatar if you own other ones. But you have weapons. These use Heartstone charge, so what you get from the Heartstone up there. I don't recommend using these unless you have to. It's only for like breaching a ship, if you're jumping on it to try and capture it, or destroying the AI because you know where it is and it's a bit weak. But there's various different weapons. It's even a grenade launcher with various ammo types. To control a ship, you need to be near a fortress controller. Weapons, I'm pretty sure you can... Yeah, weapons you can control from anywhere on the ship. So if I pressed right mouse, if I had weapons, I could shoot them. But you have to be near a controller for either a fortress, if it's a fortress, a specific controller for other types of vehicles, which I don't know the name of off the top of my head. There we go. Vehicle controller if it's general, ship's wheel for ships. There's other things in here. Only thing I'll explain is an ACB. This can be useful for specific things if you're making, for example, a self-destructive missile. A lot of different options. These are the conditions. A lot of different things. And these are what they affect. So, for example, you can make a simple weapon called a mini nuke, or whatever. I think it's called a mini nuke. No, it's a tactical nuke. It's just an explosive if you activate it. If my vehicle wasn't invincible, that would have done a lot of damage to my vehicle. See, I can't damage it anymore because it's supposed to be destroyed. But destroys most things in that explosive area. You can use it with ACBs, use it with interactions. It's a suicide bomber if you want to make it. Most of these, I don't know what they do. I do know what a ram is. You can just place it on a vehicle if you want it to do contact damage. Higher impact velocity of the vehicle, higher damage, pretty good. What's something I haven't explained? Aircraft, there's custom jet engines, best option usually. Then there's normal jet engines. There's ion thrusters for spaceships, and where are they? They're in MISC, I think. Yeah, you can teleport using warp drives. I don't know how to make these. Don't ask me. There's decorations. I'd recommend using the decoration mode. I don't know how to activate it, unless you want like a door on your vehicle to get out. Where would it be? Oh yeah, you can also see the fortress controller in here. But genuinely, where would the fortress bars be? Oh well. I don't know off the top of my head. But then there's blocks. Each has their own health. Every block has its own health, its armor, its weight, its material cost. You can see it on here. You can see its buoyancy, which is an important factor in making boats and anything that floats. How resistant it is to fire as well, and how resistant it is to EMP. EMP, it travels through any block, but it tries to avoid specific ones. Things like stone, for example. Heavy armor, it is, I believe, the best block for conducting EMP. So if you say make a heavy armor skeleton and then have the rest be something that doesn't conduct EMP as well, the EMP damage will travel through the blocks, go to the heavy armor, and just die. Pretty nice. It will damage the blocks, of course, but it'll usually die out because heavy armor has the highest health and the highest armor base out of any block. One piece by itself has 60 armor, which is quite high, but there is also a bonus based off of how many blocks are around it, and basically, if I had a brick, the structurally sound boost at the bottom of the pop-up, it'd gain more armor. Quite useful if you're making large ships, gives you bonus. Plates, you can just place on the outsides of things if you have the space. Extra armor, doesn't hurt. There are also sloped blocks. Shells and bullets and such in this game can and will in cases ricochet. So sloped armor between layers of other armor is a helpful thing if you're going for later on crafts. There are also shield projectors. Yes, this thing. If you have enough energy, you can project shield, which you can adjust in any way. You can adjust its color, you can adjust whether you can see it or not. So if I say make it blue, make it alpha b.5, and have it be as strong as possible, as wide and large as possible. Either way. That requires 312 energy a second, I believe, to maintain. And it's very strong. Range affects the cost, so do the size, which you'd assume. You can also angle it slightly or large amounts. Depends on how you want it to be angled. But if a shell hit that from this angle or this angle, it'd be worse off than flat way, as basic armor does. But I think that's basics for everything in build mode. But then I mean controls I think I also covered. E opens up this menu. You can control whether that vehicle automatically fires, how it moves based, the specific movement mode that's required for things. You can teleport, build on it, pull it out of play, which is a mechanic you'll see here. It makes it a massive block with its health bar, its name. And this is something you can do, which makes it so the vehicle travels at its highest recorded cruising speed, which will make traveling in, for example, the campaign much easier. So if I say do that, just right-click somewhere else on the map, and it starts moving there at its max recorded speed. Now I don't want it to move out, so I'll just put it there. Also, repair it, stop repairing it. Retrofit I don't understand. This automatically updates it to the latest version of the update, the saved file. So if you have it in your saves, it will automatically update it to the latest version. But yeah. Duplicate it, you can rename the fleet, you can rename the ship itself, you can show materials, the energy. You can decide where it is in the resource change and make it just not share. If it creates, it gives supplies to both cargo and user, and based off of the settings you have, which if it's the creator, it should be trying to keep at most like 10%, maybe 20. Cargo, these are the ships that move it. They only give to users, and they take from creators. Users, they use them. They don't give it to them. I'm pretty sure they only give it to others if they have excess and their levels are not met. Then you can just take it out. You can also gift commodities through the E menu, which I'd only do if you have lots of commodities, because you can just press F5 or whatever equivalent key, and it will just progressively fill it up. But if I were to say this, yeah, as you can see, that's making my health go down. I'm pretty sure it goes to making health 20% when you have guns. If you want to use your actual guns. Yeah, failed energy check. So I can't fire my guns anymore because I have not enough Hearthstone energy. I'm only at 20%. Being shot reduces it, as you'd expect. But I mean, interaction, it's as simple as going up, pressing Q, doing the settings you want. Like, for example, this is a tractor beam, select vehicle, activate tractor beam, put it at the correct distance, the angles, and safe approach, so where it will be moved to before it actually is taken. And blueprint spawner, you can tell it how often it wants to build. For example, I think I should load in. Well, no, I put this in. This is. I don't want to edit it. Basically, it's a custom jet I was trying to make. Has a bunch of tactical newts. It's a suicide bomber, effectively. These ACBs, they're for detecting on whether it should go out of the water because it doesn't fly straight, whether it should activate all of the tactical newts and explode on the suicide bomber. That's the AI. It has a general processing card, has basic detection. There is a vehicle controller, and a chair on the other side if I say I want to control it. Custom jet that basically the AI just controls it. There's also a balloon deployer. I thought I had two. There's fuel storage there. Shift P. No. Yes. Alright. With Shift P you can cycle through views. You can also see that I have a second balloon deployer. I was correct. Shift P just lets you see under layers. You have to be in build menu to use it though. It seems. Yeah. What was it? P. It's just normal P in build menu. Shrinks blocks, you can see what's inside what. It's a helpful thing. I don't recommend always having it active, but it's quite useful. Just seeing through things. But if I just, real quick, set my guy over there, because I don't want to be annoyed, and set a rat out about there. Stop the rat from moving. Also, enemy AIs, they're sometimes named, sometimes not. They usually have funny names like rat is love, rat is life. If I unpause time, since it's designer mode, it'll fly, try to fly straight at the thing. It'll fail. Balloons will take it out of the water. It'll keep flying. And it missed. As you can see, it's better for bigger targets, not smaller ones. Resource view. I'm going to... Honestly, I'm just going to despawn it. I'm also going to kill. I'm going to spawn like a... Actually, Marauder's the normal test subject for anything, really. Has a massive crane. Pretty sure that's its only weapon. It's pretty interesting, honestly. I don't know where this thing is flying. I never put in proper work on this, but it's just a simple thing, really. Also, if my music wasn't very quiet, you could hear that the game has some pretty good music. It does get repetitive if you play it a lot. But